or Rev-Up office numbers are 572-0383 and 572-0215. Rev-Up St. Lucia, the alpha of radio.
Pick up your phone for the Love Zone on Rev-Up St. Lucia. We're here to entertain ya. 97.1 FM. That's our frequency. Heard on Tuesdays with Andre, Shamar, and Nikki. Hot topics for the lovers. It's a show like no other. The Love Zone from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend. The Love Zone. The Love Zone. The Love Zone.
Hello there, good morning, good afternoon, good night to our listeners and our viewers in St. Lucia and across the globe, especially those of you on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on X. Welcome to another Love Zone for today, Tuesday, the 29th of April. My name is Andre Paul, the co-host. To my immediate left, none other than the lovely Nikki. Nikki, good morning to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night to everybody. Good morning to you, Andre and Shamak. I trust that all is well with each and every one of you. I hope that everyone had a wonderful weekend and that you're having a wonderful week thus far. I wish everybody God's eternal blessings. Continue to stay safe. And again, it's wonderful being back here. It's amazing how time flies, and we have another very interesting topic for you. So relax, kick back, and enjoy the show.
Okay, and no shout-outs today?
Yes. I want to say hello to Julia, Manuel and his wife, Allison. I want to say hello to Mr. Morgan. I want to say hello to Mr. Cauldron and his brother, Sir Charles. Yes. Who's here from England. He's here for the Jazz Festival. Wonderful, to know that you all are, having a good time. Yes, hopefully. I want to say hello to Hyacinth and Honorata down in Chuzal. One of them is Shabby Nandri, one of them is Doc. Yes.
You put in a word. You put in a good word for me.
Who knows?
Sorry.
Yes. But and I also want to say hello to Winan, Dawn, Charms, and yes, that's that's it for me.
You have a lot of friends, man, Nikki.
Along the way, I got some people, with regard to the pups. So I'm just shouting them out.
Oh yes, how's that going? Sale.
A lady is interested. She came to actually see the pup, but she didn't take it yet. She said that she has to actually get ready for the pup. So she wants to build a cage, that kind of thing. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But Andre, they're taking a toll on me. I mean, I have to be up at whatever time, and then I have to be mopping the house twice a day, and I have to be cleaning the dog cage. But I love them and I want them to be safe. I just want them to get good homes.
Yes, I'm sure they will get good homes. Do you have pets, Shamak?
Not really.
Yes or no?
You say not really. I mean, you have one, at least one at your home.
Maybe two.
Maybe two cats. Cats.
Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Cats.
Okay, these are yours or?
I think it's mine. This is nasty.
Sure,
I detach myself from them.
Wow.
Well, Nikki, maybe you should take them in.
I say that.
I think so.
Are they bushy tail cats?
I don't know, my girl.
Send me photos, love. Send me photos.
I'll drop them in the luggage by you because I'm tired.
What job? Wow.
Okay, so let's say welcome back to Shamak, who wasn't here last week, but we miss you, Shamak. As anything else, we had a very, very hot topic, and it would have been good to get your take on that particular issue. Anyway, so again, welcome, Shamak.
Good morning, everyone.
All right.
Good morning.
So, Nikki, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about child abandonment, and this is a very serious issue. It happens. It's a very traumatic thing to go through, but it happens. And so we're talking about child abandonment. And
Especially in regard to our theme, which is about relationships, the love zone. Okay, because we know you have relationships. Yes, it's true. You may have a single mom who does that sort of thing, but or dad who may do that sort of thing. But we're talking about relationships and people deciding to abandon the child, especially maybe a child just after you have the baby. So let me just give the numbers very, very early. The fixed line is 572-9710, fixed line 572-9710, or the WhatsApp platform 287-0971. WhatsApp is 287-0971. We hope you can share with us today, as last week's topic was so deep, we didn't get a single call.
Yes.
Not one call. But anyway, let's hope that it's going to be different today. Now, before we move on, let me just give a definition of child abandonment. Child abandonment occurs when a parent or guardian intentionally leaves a child with the intent of not returning and relinquishing their parental responsibility. Wow, that just sounds so cold, reading this. This can include leaving the child behind, failing to provide basic care and support, or severing all ties without making alternative arrangements for the child's well-being. Just that makes my heart feel so sad, just reading this.
It does.
So let me, just in case you missed it, child abandonment occurs when a parent or guardian intentionally leaves a child with the intent of not returning and relinquishing their parental responsibility. This can include leaving the child behind, failing to provide basic care and support, or severing all ties without making alternative arrangements for the child's well-being. Now, we normally think about females when we think about child abandonment, but we know this can apply to males as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, in fact, probably even more so, because the way the thing works here in St. Lucia, I'm not saying that's all the case, it's always that case, but we know many situations, many scenarios, you have a father behaving just like that.
Yeah.
Exactly what I read there.
Yes.
It does happen with females as well, but I think, the amazing thing is that when a female does it, we condemn them harshly.
Because we gave birth to the child. That's
Right.
what people say,
Mm-hmm.
The umbilical cord, was cord. I mean, honestly, it's crazy, but
So, Nikki, you're a mother, and I know you're very, very honest and open.
yep.
Can you just tell us what would some of the scenarios be that would cause a female to abandon a child? Just like what we said, that to if I leave the child behind. Well, we know it does happen at birth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have a child at whatever age, and to just leave the child behind and not return, kind of thing. I leave you with my grandmother. You go, you never come back. You never check for the child. That sort of thing. We know that does happen. And I often wonder how. I mean, I've thought about men doing this sort of thing, but how does a woman continue to exist, right, and act in a normal way, knowing that she's left a child behind somewhere, and there's no relationship, there's no communication, nothing. That's wow.
I know it's cold. I know it seems heartless. I know it seems, rather wicked and insensitive for a mother to actually do that, but there are reasons why people do it. And this is not about making excuses. We're just talking openly and candidly.
Yes.
All right? It is not that we're condoning it, but we're speaking because it happens.
And we should also try to understand
Why?
what the person may be going through.
Right. I believe, from a mother's perspective, that some women may do that because they feel totally unable to cope. All right?
And
Now,
that could be as a result of what?
financial
poverty.
yes,
Poverty is
financial
one.
constraints. Yes. Sometimes it may be that they just want to move on. Okay, meaning they want no ties with that child because probably the child is a constant reminder of the father. All right, now probably the relationship between father and mother disintegrated up to a point where the father has totally abandoned mother and child, right? Severing ties, have nothing to do with the child or the mother, and that places her under even more pressure.
And don't forget, especially when you see the father has made up his mind that he doesn't want to have anything to do with
Yes.
that with the child,
Yes.
there's a period of a lot of arguing and quarreling and
A lot of
fighting.
anger.
Yes, because he didn't sign up for that. He was just having fun. Yeah, he was just having fun.
And
hey, you are
that's the
telling him
thing.
now you're pregnant.
Yes, and I have to stress that what I've come to learn, right, is that a lot of men who have sex with women, it's not like they want to have a child with them. They don't want ties. But
Well, in the first place,
they're
it's
selfish.
not that they even in love.
Nothing like that. They're
with the
just
lady.
going on how they feel,
Mhm.
a momentary thing, the buzz. But it's selfish because if you know that this is the case, okay, you refuse to wear protection, right? Sometimes you don't know if the woman is on contraceptives, okay? A lot of the time she may not be, but then that's not discussed because you're just having fun. Now,
So just let me ask a quick question,
Mhm.
and Jean-Marc, you as well. Why would we have sexual relations with a female and not even think or ask ourselves, is this girl protecting herself? We're just going there.
No.
Why?
Procreation.
You'll have to be more realistic. In the heat of the moment.
must go on.
In the heat of the moment, if you do a survey, hardly anybody even think about that.
No.
And not even about protection. You have to ask yourself if she have any STDs, anything like that. So people look in the name of fun, a lot of stuff happens. And I think you always look at men as the postman, and the ladies is on the other side receiving that letter. So you get pregnant, so you have to deal with the letter that you get. Because when you really look at it, that's why back in the days, I used to believe in family planning. I don't think a child is something you can just go and have sexual intercourse. Because if you do a survey now, anywhere in the world, most children people have sex and the children stay. If nobody didn't plan it, half of the time it's not planned because the rich people do it and say, okay, we're going to have 2 children, 3 children because that's our budget and our lifestyles and stuff like that. But half of it, we have a lot of I know for St. Lucia for sure, we have a lot of single parents. Growing up, there was no father. And at that point, you end up seeing a stepfather come in to try to play that role. So most times it's like it just happened. And most times it's too late. That's why a lot of people end up doing abortions. They die from it and stuff like that. But it's a dangerous thing. I think a child is something that you have to want. And I think most times when the women don't want it, there's not that connection to the child. So for them, it's easy to drop that child at a home in a basket and nothing, because in their mind mentally they was not ready. Mentally, if that child is going to just destroy everything, that the little job that they have, the little food that they have to eat, they have to share it with that child. And then I think what really sinks for some women is the fact that the support of that partner. But if your support of the partner is there, that I think it's more fun. If it's glow sequel, we both drink the sweet water together. If it's a piece of bread, you do it together. But it's just you alone, and you see these women in town. They maybe have a 3-year-old in their hands, and then they have a 1-year-old by the hip, and a 3-year-old, and it's like, that's not balanced. But you can't tell people what to do. But in your mind, you're wondering. It's almost like you even give your body time to heal, and in 9 months you have a child, then you then make another one already. And then sometimes when you really happen, of course, some women pull through, the children grow up, they have nice jobs and stuff like that. But in the early days, it was really hard. I mean, like in this day and age, can you imagine a daycare is like $300 a month? And then your salary is 6 something, basic. Most of the women's average salaries and stuff like that. So it can be a lot. And
so Nikki and Jean-Marc, do you think it would make a huge difference if the mother knows that at least the father is there?
Okay.
He hasn't abandoned her, no matter what. He's maybe even made a promise, a pledge, right? I know we're not in love, but I'm going to be there for you. And he shows that by his actions. Do you think that if the father is there, that, I mean, it's not a perfect world, and there will always be exceptions to the rule, but do you think the chances are greater that if she knows that she has his support, that she'd probably not abandon the child?
I strongly believe, and this is from a personal perspective, that yes. I can safely tell you that I could have been, a woman who abandoned both my kids. Okay? It could have happened. I'm making no bones about it.
Why? What happened?
Because of the circumstances. Okay?
Would you like to share the circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, both fathers basically abandoned me and the children. You understand?
Hold on. Sorry about that. You're saying that in your situation,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not putting you down or anything. Don't misunderstand me. But you are visually impaired. He knew that before.
Yep.
And that's a
Both of
serious
them.
problem.
Yes.
Exactly. It's an issue that has to be dealt with because it does come with its fair share
Yep.
of challenges, right? Okay, so they in the relationship with you, and you're pregnant, and they're abandoning you
Yep.
at that point in time.
Yep.
So
The support
did
was-
the abandonment actually manifest itself?
It screwed me over. Honestly.
No. I mean, what
Ah.
was the behavior of the guys involved?
I mean, honestly, they. Boy. How do I put it? Let me be blunt. The first one, when I told him I was pregnant, he's like, "What? For who?"
Oh my gosh!
Yep. And then he started spreading rumors that I was with different people, and I was like, "Okay."
So did he ever say that to you before the pregnancy?
Nope.
Okay, all right,
Nope.
there you go.
Nope.
People do that to
Just to shake
like
off
an escape
responsibility.
to
that's all.
escape,
Yes,
and I
yes.
think that's why it happened a lot here. In general, people they're having fun as long as the pregnancy come to them. It's a huge responsibility. They can't go on the block again. It's just a lot, and then that's why sometimes I keep telling people, even in dating, we have to have these conversations, because sometimes you don't discuss it at all because we're 23, 25 or whatever age, you meet somebody and it's not a child you're looking for. Sometimes you're still living at your mother home, or it's a slip Nikki giving me, and I come in and say, "Nikki, you know I'm pregnant," but Nikki will say, "But girl, you can't stay here again. You have to leave because you don't have space." Because having a child, the whole ball game changed. Everything changed. I mean, you're inviting a whole new person into the world, and that person comes with a different responsibility. There's more money, and then I like this money was telling Nikki. It's just so sad that everything in the world has to boil down to money.
Yep.
People can say what they want, and I say sometimes you see somebody saying that, but you cannot judge that person because you will not give that person $2 if they actually say go and work, and that's a form of working.
Yep.
You cannot tell because everything boils down to money. You can put it upside down, left, right, and center. Everything boils down. Food, clothing, to bagay. Everything boils down to money, and
So-
then you just have some courses that just it's almost like you have a loan and the child is like an added interest. And then the person some people cannot deal with it. But sometimes I think you have to hold. I don't believe in child abandonment. It is a very difficult thing. I think for me, imagine you're growing and you don't know what it is to sit by the table if your father go and carry water, go and fish, nothing like that. So
That's right.
it affects. It reflects on society in the future, and it's so sad the men want to reap the benefits when you're an adult. I mean, I wasn't speaking to my father for years. To me, nigga, you gotta talk to me. You have nothing. By the time I say, let by God be by gods, and it's like, as you get older, you see programs, you read books, and you watch movies. I was like, okay, let's make it work. And I start calling him Gasa. Hello.
By the way, is he still alive?
No, he passed maybe a couple of years now. But the word daddy actually came out, and he used to call me Shims. I say, man, me Shims, but it actually warm up until you could have actually sit down one time and then just have a normal conversation, not go back into why did you do that. I'm not interested, because the why maybe he himself wouldn't even know why. And then so some men too. For the men, some men abandon the children is not because of they want to, it's because of maybe the relationship with the female. The female put them away for the child. But I still think as a male, you have to go out of your way to make sure that you're in that child life some ways. And then for some women, they use children as a piggy bank just to make money, get money out of the men. Go on and go. ID Papa Ubuzela Poalile call, and sometimes they never use that money. When you think of child, what they call the place they put in the money?
Social welfare.
Social welfare. They put the money
Family
there, and
court.
half of the time they let it pile up. You hear them, and they don't even use it on the children. So it's almost like
Well, thankful. I think that may be the exception rather than the rule. It does happen, yeah, but I don't think. I think generally mothers are very, very, very protective of their children
Nurturing,
and
yeah.
ensure that they're okay. Now, let me ask you something, Nikki. You're a very, very, very intelligent lady. So to explain to us, and I think Shamak kind of glossed over that earlier, the issue of contraception. How is it that you didn't protect yourself or anything like that?
Andre, let me be blunt with you. There was a time in my life when I was just so screwed up. Okay, I that's the best word I can use. Okay, like just helter skelter, just not thinking.
So in other words, you just didn't
aimless.
care. You just didn't care.
Like I didn't care. I really like I was just doing things, just like I don't know, and that's why I tell people like I want to use my experience to try to kind of guide people along if they will even be receptive to it. But
So this is not uncommon then,
No,
where
it's
you have females
It's not.
knowing that this is a fresh relationship. The guy hasn't probably proven himself, that he's going to stick around and so on, and they just, because of what may be going on in their life,
all of that.
that they just throw caution to the wind.
Exactly. It's like you're at a point where like you couldn't care less. You do things subconsciously, you know what the end result can be or will be, but then you just don't care enough.
So tell us, Nikki, if you don't mind sharing with us, what were some of the things going through your life at the time that made you feel that you don't care? Because I would imagine, I'm just imagining, I could be wrong, that in your family, they were very protective of you because of the fact that you have your issues. So I would imagine, I could be wrong, that they're very protective of you. So were they protective, not protective? And if they were, what was going on at the time that made you feel that you didn't care?
Okay, so I don't know if you remember, but I've shared here on this program that it's like for some reason or the other, I never felt loved. All right. Now, the higher thinking part of me knows that my parents did love me, but there was that other part of me that didn't feel that way. That's crazy. All right. I'm still trying to figure out what it is that could have contributed.
So let me ask you: were they affectionate to you? Did they tell you? I constantly, we love you and this sort of thing.
I think my father used to tell me that like more in my adult life than as a child. But then you like instinctively you felt that you were loved, but it's confusing, Andre. I honestly, as articulate as I am, sometimes it's difficult to bring across. But one of the things that really got to me was the fact that I was sent to boarding school in Trinidad, and I never wanted to leave my parents. Okay?
Hold your thought. We'll get back to that, but we do have a call. So let's take the call. Please hold your thought. All right. Thanks for calling. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Andre. Good morning, Nikki.
Hi, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks
morning.
for calling.
How are you?
Thanks for accepting my call.
You're welcome.
Okay. Andre, this topic is very deep and personal for me. I'm so happy Nikki have this topic there today. Andre, I have a 22-year-old at my home, and this child, Andre, is a young girl now. Her mother brought her to my house at the age of, I think, about 6 months. Just dropped the child there, Andre.
So what's the connection between you and that lady? The child's mother?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Nothing.
She's not your friend or
Andre,
anything like that?
Nothing.
Wow.
I tell you, Andrea, I told you the child is 22 years now, and she even have a baby already. Andre, when this girl was about 6 months, on a Sunday, Andre, I can remember that very well. I heard good morning, good morning. I answered good morning. I heard the person say, hold this child there for me. I go in hospital and see my mother. When I coming back, I'll take her.
So
right now.
So sorry. So that's the first time you ever encountered that person, that female?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Andre, I was still in bed. Andre, it was a Sunday. So when I heard that, Andre, I thought it was somebody wrong, Andre. So I had two girls there, Andre. I believe Shamak supposed to be aware of who's speaking there.
No.
Yeah. Shamak, I can just give you a little name, Christella Deborah. You have an idea now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, Andre, I had two girls inside, Andre. So they went out and take the child. So when I get up, Andre, I said, but what y'all doing with this person child? They say, hey, Daddy, the person will come for her child, Andre. I tell you, the child was about 6 months. The child is 22 years now.
My
What?
word.
And she
The
left.
girl is, I mean, not a child now. She's a young lady. She's 22 years now at my home.
So when that
Yeah.
person left the child there, which is a very, very dangerous thing to do in the first place, because she doesn't even know you. All due respect,
That's
respect.
desperation.
Mhm.
You've never seen her since that time?
Yes, Andre. Andre, if I have to tell you about the whole story, that might take the whole show. Andre. But apparently, my girlfriend knew her, knew the girl. You understand? So when I get up, I say, but what y'all doing? They said, Daddy, the person will come for her child. And I say, I have so much trouble with you two little girls there. You're taking somebody else's child. And Daddy, the person. Andre, the girl never come back for the child, Andre.
Wow.
Andre, when the child was about to make first communion, to christening, Andre, we had to get the girl, Andre. It's a long story, Andre. But afterwards, when I saw the girl, I asked her, how are you, my dear? How is everything? She told me, I'm okay. But she never once asked me, how is her child doing?
So,
Yeah.
did you legally adopt this child, or is she just
No.
nothing
No,
legal?
because
Nothing.
somebody told us to go to social welfare or whatever to get the child adopt and make papers and things. I said, no, I'm not doing that. The child is not a car, house, or land. If I find out that she can take care of the child, I will give her the child. But apparently she could not care for the child.
Oh, you see now.
When the child was
Go on.
Mhm.
No, go on.
So when the child was about to christening, Andre, we went and looked for her and tell her the child has to christening and so forth. But if you don't have clothes, we'll buy clothes for you. We want you to take this child to the church because it's your child. And we want whatever name you give in the child, that's the name that has to register on the birth certificate or baptism, whatever. And she went, we buy clothes for her, Andre. She comes, she took the child to go to the christening, the church christened the child and thing. She was living somewhere in town. So we went there for a little drink, and when time about to go home, Andre, the child don't want to see her at all. We take the child back home, and the child is still there with the girl is still there with us. The young lady, she's 22 years now. She has a
Amazing.
child. Yeah.
Amazing.
But one thing I can say without cutting you short is, it's a good thing that she actually did that. Some people, they throw the children in garbage bins, and it's hard, but I can tell you, instead of her.
Andre, it's a lot. Because where my girlfriend was working at the time, it was in a place where tourists, Shamak knows. Once I mentioned the two names to her. And Andre, after the child was about 2 years or so, a year and a half, 2 years, she said she want the child. She said the child father want her child. Want his child. So we say, okay, if the father want the child, okay, we'll think. But later on, Andre, before we give the child, we find out that she wanted that child to sell in Martinique.
Oh my gosh.
Andre, it's a long story, Andre. And I tell you, the young lady is at my home. She's 22 years. She has a child about 5 years now. Yeah, both of them, they're sleeping there right now. She works now and so forth. Yeah?
So
And
let me
it's
ask
a
you,
long story.
any idea as to where that mother is right now?
The mother of the child?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Andre, I seen her in town. She seen me in town. Yeah. I get to know her late, Andre. Yeah, I seen her. She seen me.
Wow.
And sometimes when she see me, I sit down concession back. She asks me, how is my child? I say, she's okay. How is my grandchild? I say, he's okay. Yeah.
Let me tell
Does
you.
she have
Yeah.
did she have other children eventually?
Yes, I think she has other children, Andre. And somebody told me that's how she gives some of her children away. Like, Andre, you'll see her sometime by a supermarket. It doesn't happen now. I think she has about 7 or 8 children now. Somebody told me one of the ways she gets rid of her children, you'll see her standing by a supermarket with a child, with a baby, and tell you, hello, miss, I don't want to go inside the supermarket or the air condition with the child, with the baby. Hold the baby for me, and when I come back, I'll take her. And then she make a bill and you don't see her, and sometimes you end up holding the child and you just see the lady at all. Now, if you want the child, you might keep the child, or you might take the child to a police station or whatever. Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa, la la.
Wow.
That's right.
Caller,
And
thank you
it's a
so much.
Long story.
Yes.
From 6 months to up to now 22 years.
22
This
years.
Young lady at my
Well,
home.
first of all, let me just say bravo to you,
You
my friend.
know.
Bravo to you.
Yeah.
You've done well. You've done well.
Yeah. And
Wow.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
And it's a long story from 6 months to 22 years. Yeah.
with absolutely
I have the
no
child.
relation to the woman, like
No
the mother.
relationship
And the child.
That's why I tell you, we all impact one another, you
child.
know. Wow, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
at least
Okay.
that's one I kind of. But hold on, I'm just curious. Does the child ever, talk about her mom and like to get to know her and have a relationship?
She get to know Andre, but she doesn't want to be too close to her. Because sometimes when I tell her, hey, I saw your mother in town, hey, you saw her? That's what she tell me.
there's not a bond, you see. There's not a bond.
Yeah, they have no bond, Andre. No bond, no.
Wow.
And that this young lady at my home right now, I tell you, she's 22 years. A day, a sister from Vieux-Fort came to see her. I don't know how she get in contact with the sister from Vieux-Fort, but it's the same thing. Like the sister in Vieux-Fort find her way in Vieux-Fort because of the same thing by giving away
Same story.
her kids and things. Yeah.
And by the way, did you ever find out who the father is? Did you ever find out?
No, never. Up to now, never. I don't know who is the father. She herself doesn't know who is the father, and the mother herself never tell me anything. Nothing.
Okay, my friend. Thank you very much for
Interesting.
sharing that story.
Interesting.
Thank you very
Right.
much.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Nikki, you were saying a while ago.
Right. So I was sent to Trinidad to boarding school because there was not a school that catered for blind and vision.
And how old were you at that time?
I was about like 5.5. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that means you had to be away from your
Yes.
parents.
Yeah, but we would go and come, like for vacations. So Easter.
You see,
summer,
we would
Christmas.
go.
My two of my siblings, as well as another child, have been sent over because we had visual impairments, and the other girl was blind.
So
But-
the idea to send you over, was that something what counselor suggested?
No.
or?
It's actually I think the government actually played a role in that because schooling and all of that. But
Okay.
I never, honestly, I think it destabilized me. Like it did something to me, and I felt wronged because away from my family. It just didn't go well with me
Yes,
at all.
I understand.
I used to cry
In
a
other
lot.
words, if they were there with you, you felt better.
Yeah, I would have felt better. But I think that that created a lot of upheaval for me. And I felt abandoned. I can't lie. I felt alone, abandoned. I felt unwanted. But it's the narratives that we tell ourselves.
Yes.
Now, as children,
How about your siblings? How did they feel?
they coped a lot better. Honestly, they coped a lot better than me. I can tell you that. But sometimes, my behavior would kind of filter down on them. Because I remember there was a time when we got kicked off a flight because I was so badly behaved.
Oh,
The
right.
people said, no. But
Oh, you've been rude.
not rude, like screaming and just lost my control and whatever. And so I can safely tell you that I think this created some.
Let me ask you. Sorry to disturb you.
That's okay.
Do you think the anger had anything to do with your being visually impaired? That like why me kind of thing?
I'm sure it did. Yeah, I was telling myself a lot of negative things. Like the narrative that I was telling myself was not very positive at the time. And that's the thing. As children, we sometimes perceive things so wrongly, but then we cope the best way we know how. And so, like growing up, okay, we came back from Trinidad and then other things started happening, because what I think is that when you're in a certain state of mind, it's like that opens a doorway to a lot of negativity happening to you. That's my perception.
And the state of mind was what? Anger.
Anger, a lot of
Disappointment.
disappointment,
Were
confusion.
you angry at God as well?
Oh God, too much. Yeah, my mom told me, listen, that's your problem. You're angry at God. I never meant for that to happen, but then it did, because I was like, if there was a God, like this wouldn't happen and blah, blah, blah. But I understand better now. So, and then, along the way, it's like, certain, like I attracted certain experiences, and I learned that late. Because your mindset will attract certain experiences to you. People may not believe that, but it is what it is.
I believe it.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so, like, I attracted a lot of negative guys, I have to say.
And that's where
Yes.
the irresponsible behavior.
Right, all of that. I used to drink. I was on antidepressants. I used to mix the antidepressants with the alcohol, which they told me not to do, but I wanted to die, so I didn't care. But that progressed into promiscuous behavior and all of that. And I used to starve myself. Sometimes I would overeat. It was crazy. Let me tell you, it was crazy. And then, like I tell you, the guys, they were not positive.
Yeah,
because,
as you said, you attracted a
that of like
certain
manner.
type of
Yes,
individual.
Yes.
So they gave you no real sign that they were serious, but I guess you didn't really care about that.
Exactly. The red flags were glaring, but then, you just blindsided. And, along the way, it's like, okay, children. And then you still dysregulated. You still feel, like all this anger, all this unresolved stuff.
So just tell us. So he's with you, and you tell him that you're pregnant, and his response was for who?
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
That's yes.
So what
My
happened?
first
What happened after that?
And
Did he say to you, okay, all right, you're pregnant, and I'll be there?
Nothing like that. He distanced himself.
So he just
another
distanced
person.
himself.
Yes, and then he had another person. And I want to say to
So he had
people,
another person while you were pregnant.
who knows? Yeah. While, of course, and maybe before too. But what I want to say to people is, especially women, you have to be very careful what you think when you're pregnant, because I guarantee.
Before you're even pregnant.
Well, yes. Okay, you see your thought patterns, that filters down, because there was a lot of anger and resentment and bitterness and depression, and I can tell you it affected my daughter. It really did. Up to now, she's,
So
it's crazy.
So let me ask you. So during the pregnancy, what? You just distanced himself. I'm sure you tried to reach out to him. I'm sure.
I did.
You
But
tried.
then he was, yes. And I would see him, I would see him with the other person. And I can safely tell you there was a time when I could imagine myself stabbing him. No
I'm
joke.
sure you're
I'm
angry.
telling
You're
you.
angry at him.
And all that filters down. So people, watch your thoughts.
So he wasn't there for during the entire pregnancy.
No,
Did he ever provide at least financial support during that time?
Nothing, not a pin.
How old was he at the time, if you remember
He
asking?
was like 21. I think I'm a couple years older than him, Yes. And the thing is, when the baby was born, he came to the hospital to see her. And let me tell you, that was just...
By the way, how did he find out?
I don't know. I don't know who told him. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is that he came to the hospital to see the baby, but I know he just wanted to make sure whether or not the child was his, because in his head he was like, the child is not his, so he wanted to.
So he came to
determine
look at
that.
certain
Exactly.
features.
Yes, and then after he left, the lady said, "Wasn't that your child's father?" And I said, "Yes." And he's gone already, and I just burst into tears. Yeah, because I was very emotional.
So him
at
coming
that
there,
time.
he didn't hang around for very long.
And then gradually.
He didn't ask to hold the child or anything.
I think he held her.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But I was in a very fragile state at the time because I had a rough delivery. Like, they had to induce labor and stuff, and so I was so weak, and I was just so in between. Just a very fragile. And I have to say, thoughts of just leaving her crossed my mind. I promise you all that. Okay, but I didn't, and it was rougher because I had to leave home. Because my dad, he was not in favor of the pregnancy, and he was pissed off at me, and so he asked me to leave, and I ended up at a friend's house, and so all of that was just...
You're kidding me.
No.
Shamak, you heard that?
It was rough.
You heard what she said?
It was rough.
That her father asked her to leave the house.
That was very stressful. And
So all during the pregnancy, what was his behavior toward you, your father?
oh God, like I tried to avoid him at all costs because, I could feel the negative energy coming from him. I promise you, I could feel that.
So, Shamak, imagine she doesn't have the support of the guy, which we said earlier would make a huge difference. Support of the guy, and then your father decides now to ask you to leave the house.
Yes, and
Wow.
every time, like every day, the imminence of me having to leave was looming, and so.
So he gave you
the time
he even
came-
gave you a deadline.
he would ask me, like, what are you doing? When are you leaving? Whatever.
So why was he? Why was he so upset?
Because he said to me that he was teaching me a lesson so that my younger sisters would. Yeah, it was crazy. God bless his soul, But it was traumatic, and then I used to cry a lot. I used to be very angry, and I'm not doing that to get a pity party.
No.
It
We're talking because the whole idea is to help other people.
Yeah.
Sorry. So you had a deadline to leave the house.
Yeah.
So what happened? You ended up leaving?
Yeah, I did. I left. My friend, she's now
did
deceased.
he see you when you were leaving the house?
Who? My father?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Of course he did.
And he didn't.
No, my mother really tried to not let that happen, but then my father was the dominant one.
And he said he's doing that to teach
my younger siblings
a lesson,
so that they're not gonna go and do what I did. And I was like, that's so foolish, because you cannot stop them. You just can't, But anyways, so my friend who's now deceased, like she decided to take me in and stuff, and she had a roommate and whatever. But it was I felt so out of place. She was very accommodating, but
hold your thought. Okay, we have a call. Please hold your thought. We have a call. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Morning, Andre. Morning, Nikki and Shama.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, our
nice
friend
hearing you.
Charmaine.
Hello.
Thanks for calling.
Andre, you pushed me under the bus there. I just wanted to share a little bit of my story because I can relate a little to Nikki. That I got pregnant at 16, and I wanted to get pregnant. I wanted a child because I was not feeling loved. As Nikki said, they probably did love you, but for some reason or the other, you were not feeling that love.
Yeah.
So I felt that if I had a child, I would have somebody to love me.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was around because we were in the same area. He kind of was helping out because he was not really working, but he was learning to do mechanic body work, and he was getting a little something monthly. That's 37 years ago.
So how old was he? How old was he at the time?
I was 16 and he was 18. He's about 2 years older than me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we were two young people. But he was kind of helping out and stuff. But my mother was very furious. My dad didn't really care that much, but my mother was giving me a lot of pressure. But I stayed on until I had the baby. The guy was around. But what happened is, after the child was born and he started growing, he was a few months, the guy refused to give me monies. If he have to give me $100, I had to sleep with him, which I did on many occasions.
So what, you had broken up or something?
Yeah, after we broke up, because the child was a young 2 months when we broke up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we broke up, he was a young 2 months. So from the time we broke up, if you have to give me $100, I have to have sex with him, which I did. And I did that a few times because he just refused to give anything. And then one time he offered me $100, but I had to sleep with him. I don't remember how old my son was at the time. And I said to him, that's your child. I'm not going to do that anymore. And I stopped, and I didn't get a thing from him in months, maybe almost a year. He didn't give the child anything. And one time he came and he brought me $40. My mother was right there, and I teared her $40 in pieces.
Oh.
And my mother, well, you tearing up money. I say, I don't need that $40. There's nothing you can do for my son. And that child continued growing up, and I took care of my son. When he went to write his common entrance at 11 years, his father left to go to the U.S. And he sent, that time he had some wife, I don't know if he was married or whatever, he sent $300 for me via the wife because he was already in the States. And I sent that child to secondary school for 5 years without a cent from that father, except that $300.
Wow.
Yeah. So he just because I stopped sleeping with him and whatever, he left, he went away. And he just never gave me anything all these years in the U.S. And then when my son was about 18, he started to prepare papers. My son didn't want to go to meet him because he didn't have that bond with him.
Right.
But eventually we kind of encouraged him, and he's in the U.S. now. And 7 years ago when I came up, I hated that guy. I wasn't speaking to him. And 7 years ago, that fellow, when I moved to the U.S., that boy wanted to I said, okay, bygones be by. We kind of got close friends and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I noticed that boy want to be involved with my life. I said, let me tell you something. Our son is 37 years. I don't need you. I don't need you in my life. I don't need you as a friend. I just cut him off. And it's about 2 years. I never spoke to him. I just cut him off.
Yeah.
I don't want him in my life. And because that was just so painful. And when my son was 3 months old, I ended up leaving my mother's house because my mother started treating me so bad that the guy was living in this little shack and I moved in with the boy. Yeah. And then when the child was a year and 2 months, we broke up and I went back to my mother's house with my
Wow,
son.
you see?
Yeah.
See?
So it's just that, like, I kind of was looking for love, searching for love, and as Nikki said, I became very promiscuous as a teenager, and then I, just like I don't care, that kind of way. You just family and you would do things, but then when I look back on my life, I say we don't have that other life to live, but I will do everything different if I have to get the chance again. Everything.
So let me just ask you, okay, because I think Nikki said the same thing, not feeling the love. What is it that parents can do in order to transmit to the children or to their children that they genuinely love them? What is it that you would have liked to happen that would have made you feel you were being loved?
Now, Andre, I don't know I can't answer that question because I kind of did the same thing to my children, not giving them those hugs and telling them I love you. I would provide.
Mm-hmm.
I would provide, make sure they have the best, they have everything. But to give them these hugs and these I love yous and this extra attention,
Right.
I kind of was more drawn to my men. Like if I have a man in my life, I would show him more affection, more love, more time than the children. Because I think when you grow up that way, you kind of tend to project the same thing. That's all you know. Like I regretted a lot. Andre, you know what helped me a lot? Remember Calista Jean-Louis?
Yes.
You used to have on the show? He helped me a lot. And I remember one time I called my children. That's about before I came up here. And I said to them, if I had done anything to you all, I'm sorry. I remember one time my son was about 13. The second one was probably they're 3 years apart. And my daughter was, they were young, but the oldest one probably was about 12. And I said to you all, I'm taking all of you and I'm going to drown you all.
Wow.
And the children held that. And I cry over that so many times already. I cried because my son now repeated it to me when I came up here 7 years ago. And I said, but the age you all were there, I couldn't drown you all. You all were old enough. I mean, out of frustration, I made a statement. And a lot of things I said to my kids, they held it, they have it, they keep it there.
Yes.
Because I remember, I think that subject was on the Love Zone tour or maybe Lotus or something. I remember my daughter now, she was about 11 or 12, and I was living with this guy. From the time I met him and he moved in with me, he was very affectionate to my daughter. He would give her gifts and everything, and I just look at it like he loved the child. And one time she said to me, Mommy, so-and-so was peeping at me in the shower.
Oh.
I was like, that's not true. But that's not true. No, I said, that you lie. Not meaning that she lied.
You couldn't believe
It was
he
a
would
surprise.
do that. Yeah.
Yes, it was. And she took it, meaning that I called her a liar, that I didn't believe the guy. Her.
See?
And I stayed with the guy because I don't have no place to go. And up to now, my daughter is 30 years, and she still have that
they hold
resentment.
things. They hold
I
it.
trying to bond with her. We close, but not how we should be. Because I really thought she had moved past all these things, and she just bring it up if we have a little conversation. Oh, this and that, like mommy, and what had hurt me the most, like she hated me, but she still respected the guy, and she would call him Mr. So-and-so. She would address him as Mr. And I would say, look at that, you still calling him Mr. and then you hate me. I've said, I'm sorry so many times to these children. And even my son, when we came up here, we're trying to bond. We're trying to, sometimes, I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and when he was leaving, I hugged him. I said, I love you. And, I keep telling them I love them. I tell them I'm sorry, whatever I did, maybe I didn't know better. Because I told my son, I didn't know better. I didn't have no business having children at that age. I had low self-esteem. I didn't even love myself. So I had no business bringing children into the world. So they suffer in the process. And then it hurt me a lot. That haunted me a lot of years in my life. And now I can say I'm in a better place. I'm a better person now. I deal with them differently. So we're trying to at least. My son is in Canada. The second one is over 15. I saw him 5 years ago. But I want all of us to meet together, at least before I leave this earth. So I just want a kind of reunion, but my daughter doesn't have a visa. So to me, the visit have to be taking place in St. Lucia, because I can go under one in Canada. Or like I just need that closure, that all my children are under the same roof with me. Just at least to tell them to their face. Exactly. It's not too late to mend. It's not too late to make it right.
True.
Although I do that over the phone, I've said it, but I want all of us in one place. I just thought I had to share my little story because Nikki kind of motivated me because it's kind of similar.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.
You take care.
Wow. What a story. What a
I
story.
tell you.
Again, it just goes back to what we keep saying all the time, that what's happening in the home.
Yeah.
This is what, because I'm sure, Nikki, even if your father was behaving that way and the guy was saying, okay, I'll take up the mantle.
It would have been different.
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
telling you. Let me tell you, that was one of the most devastating things. And again, when you don't let go, when you don't get healed, you attract another person that does the same thing. So the second child's father probably may not have been that bad, but then he did not play the role that he was supposed to play. And so you find basically the same experience repeating itself.
So the children's biological father never really had a relationship with your two children?
No. What I'm saying is they had like different fathers.
Yes.
Different fathers, right?
So I'm asking, did those fathers have a relationship with the two children? Meaning as
when
a
you
parent,
say
as a parent.
I wouldn't say that. No.
Okay.
It's like the bond is not there. The first daughter doesn't even speak to the father now. The second one, like it's kind of strained, and listen. One time my second daughter was saying, Mommy, I don't even think that these men understand, like what they're doing. Because, she said it hurts the children, especially the daughters, when they don't play their role. And I told her, child, these things are devastating. I mean, if I didn't reach to a level where I kind of steel myself and, I would have been a wreck. It's not a nice experience, but life must go on. And then we have to find a way to cope healthily. Because we're still alive and we have to carry on.
So may I ask you, how were you able to get yourself back at the home of where your father was?
My youngest sister, right? She's the one who begged and pleaded, for my dad to let me come back and whatever.
And that was after how long?
That was not very long after I had my daughter. Probably a couple of days.
No, I mean, how long after you left the house were you able to go back home?
I left the house probably in December and I went back in January.
So it wasn't that long?
No.
Okay.
No. But then the effects were still devastating.
Of course.
All that stress.
To see the guy sort of abandon you at that moment then, and your father now asking you to leave.
Yeah, and then, the thing is that he slowly wormed his way back into my life, and then, he didn't play an active role per se, but he would come around, he would hold a baby, he would see her. We were living not too far from each other, so I would go up and then he would just, have the baby. But he never played a significant role. And when she was maybe about going on 2 years, he left and he went to Canada.
We've just scratched the surface on this subject, but I think what my takeaway is for biological fathers, right, not to abandon the child, not to abandon the lady who's pregnant for you, even though you don't have a relationship with them. I think that's huge. And also the importance of parents, right, being there for their children no matter what. No matter what. Shamak, I know you've kind of like not said much, and I understand. But anything you want to say to the ladies out there, young ladies and young men, etc., etc.?
I think the first thing has to be, I think people has to practice using contraceptives. Because most times we can avoid. I think that's that from the start. And I know sometimes some people in certain situations, especially if a younger person is dating a older man, most times they feel like the man is overpowering them. Everybody like to have unprotected sex, and I think we have to be ready. Most times we are not ready for the results afterwards. So that can be avoided because I think bringing a child into this world, it has to be done by two persons. It's very sadly that most times it's always done by a female, and all that pressure is on her breakfast, lunch, and dinner, school fees, all of that. And then sometimes the pressure, then the women mentally sometimes, most times they're not even really they have not even really learned much stuff themselves, and then now they have to be a mother. And then when it comes to love, in terms of putting love, in terms of that, growing up, I think if a lot of us can relate to that, giving love to a child, as I know my mother loved me growing up, like the caller said a while ago, because of the stuff she used to do. But it's only as an adult I started saying that I love you. You used to be jealous when you see other parents, when you hugging their children and saying stuff, because a lot of parents sometimes is a generational. It comes down from generations. If your parents don't give you that, they just figure raising a child is giving you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's no communication. There's never a time we'll sit and talk and stuff like that. So I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think the word abundant is a very huge word. Even sometimes you're living in a house with somebody, you're in the house with them and you're still feeling abundant because there's no connection.
Sorry to disturb you, but we have to end, Shamak. Nikki, I was just thinking maybe at some future during some future program we can talk about what is it that parents can pass on, especially to their boys, in terms of them being better managers of themselves and being more responsible and so on, especially for their actions. So maybe thinking about something related to that sort of thing, and we'll take it from there. So sorry to have disturbed you, Shamak, but time is already upon us. But thank you very much for a great show as always. Thank you. And Nikki, especially thank you for being so open. Right, and of course our caller as well. Both callers, very, very good presentations there this morning. Thank you. So until next week, Tuesday, same time for another Love Zone. All right? Thank you. All right. Wishing Shamak and Nikki a great day. Thank you very much for your service here at Rev-Up. So stand by now for our drive that's coming up next. Remember, it's going to be on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X, and also live on DBS, Dahe Broadcasting Service. That's coming up next. Stand by. Those of you on Facebook, we'll just take a little break and get back to you.